Hey guys, how's it going? So before I start this video, I just want to make it clear to say that I did used to love Earth. I loved it in the 2014 and loved it even more in the 2015 season when they sort of re-released the champions that they banned the first time round, and they'd sort of tweaked their numbers and whatever to make them better for Earth. And I really enjoyed it then. I thought it was great because you just sort of played whoever you wanted and spammed them out a little bit and tried whatever you wanted to try, and then if it didn't go well, then you chose a different person next game and whatever. Like, you obviously still had these list of champions that got banned and picked a lot, but for the most part, people picked somebody that was just a bit weird and a bit quirky and fun to play, and it allowed people to play sort of these non-Earth meta picks kind of thing, people who weren't Zed, Fizz, Hecarim, all those lot. But it doesn't seem to be like that anymore, at least not in the current iteration that we've got. As in, now people play it to stomp and to win, not to try out these stupid things. As in, I think I've played about 10 games of Earth, and in one of them did I face against people who hadn't picked Zed, Fizz, or whoever was OP and not banned. And that's really sad to see. That to me is the problem with Earth now, is that people don't play it as this mess around game mode where you go in and pick this random champion and just sort of screw around for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, however long it lasts. You go, like, people seem to now just be going in, picking like the broken champion that isn't banned, and just trying to force out a win. And to the extent that it's not even interesting to play as or against, as in, I was against an AD Malzahar, I didn't play against it, but I saw an AD Malzahar mid lane who spammed abilities so that he could get his passive voidling up to push a tower, and he did that for all 3 towers in that lane. But I don't understand where the fun is in that. He didn't try and fight, he didn't roam, he didn't do anything, he just sat in mid lane for the entire laning and just spammed abilities to get voidlings out. And sure, I'm not going to knock his sort of like style of play. I mean, it was effective, sure, they won the game, they won the lane, whatever. But surely that takes away from the fun of Earth. Surely Earth is there so that you are meant to play something that isn't this try hard kind of thing. I mean, I get that it's League and that nobody goes into a game thinking, hey, let's lose this game. But there's a fun in competitive play, and there's fun in having counter mechanics, and fun in not sitting there face rolling a keyboard and being able to one hit anybody, or sitting there and face rolling the keyboard and being able to push towers at the speed of light, and having some kind of challenge there. I think that's the thing that people just are avoiding now. And if you, it really exaggerates this sort of divide between meta, and obviously Earth has a different meta to regular League, but it really is exaggerated in this, because in regular League you can pick a non-meta champion and still have a chance against this meta champion just by playing well or playing to your advantages and things like that, whereas in Earth that really just isn't possible, because a lot of the things you play around these meta champions for are cooldowns, or are their mana spamming, like their mana limits, or things like that, whereas obviously those two in Earth are just non-existent. Or maybe like they have a weak early game, but in Earth that seems to not really be an issue, because late game you just face roll anyway. And it's sad to see that this game mode that was this mess around, have fun kind of thing has turned to this just force out wins and play whoever seems to be the strongest, and it punishes you dramatically for not doing it. But I think even worse than just taking the loss, because the loss in Earth to me isn't that bad, and I think for a lot of people it isn't that bad because it's Earth and they don't take it as seriously, because, you know, again, it's Earth, who really cares. But it's the fact that you're then forced to sit there for 20 minutes and just be stomped, and there's nothing you can do to stop it short of leaving the game, which will get you banned. And so I think that's where the problem lies, is the fact that you get put into these lanes that if you don't pick these meta picks, then they're incredibly frustrating to play against because you can't do anything. But then you're also you're also sort of told you have to sit there and are forced to play in these lanes, and you can't just leave the lane, because then they'll just follow you, like your opponent will just follow you and then start face rolling everybody. And it's just, it seems sad, to be honest, that this game that seemed to have been designed to be stupid and fun has turned into this spam out for wins type mechanic. And I mean, there are a few solutions that I can think of. I guess in the short term, and keeping Earth pretty much mostly as it is just putting a 10-minute surrender, because by that time you can kind of tell who's going to win normally. As in, if the enemy Zed is 8-0 because at 10 minutes, which to be honest often happens with Zed in Earth, then you can probably pretty happily surrender at 10 minutes. And like I say, nobody really cares if they win or lose. They just don't want to be forced into a lane that they get completely stomped in for 20 minutes. So I think a 10-minute solution could be a better solution there. But I think the best solution of all would be something like URF, as my friends and I have sort of decided to call it, which is what it sounds like, I guess, URF on the ARAM map on Howling Abyss. Where you do play the ARAM, so all random champions, even if it's in Summoner's Rift, so it's just all random Summoner's Rift, just forcing people to have this randomness in the sense that they can't just sort of pick this one champion and span out like a Z and just sort of one-hit anybody in the enemy team from 3 minutes in from when they're level 3 or whatever. Or just, like, you can even have the bans still and sort of limit the bans of these people that they could randomly get and whatever, but I think this is probably the best way that it could be done. Obviously, it takes some of the gameplay aspect out of it, is in the sense that you're forced to play a random champion rather than a champion that you choose. But I think most people will be willing for that because they're getting pretty sick from what I've seen. A lot of people are of this URF meta where if you don't pick one of these champions, you just lose. Yeah, so I think that's probably sort of where my rambling is going to end. Apologies for this being quite long. But yeah, I think either a 10-minute surrender or URF is probably the best way, the two best solutions I can think for making URF fun again, really, taking away from this spam to win type mentality that we seem to have gotten into for URF. And I'll hopefully release some URF videos because I've got a few friends and I've been playing that just in custom games, and I'll show you guys how to set it up as well for the next time URF comes around, because I realise it's sort of making its way out of rotation now. But yeah. I think like I say, just a sort of TLDW, the issue with URF, I think, is that people now are taking it way too seriously as too much of a play to win type thing, rather than a play to mess around. And it's sad to see. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.